I hope you guys are all having a great weekend. Here's our weekly watch list video. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is we'll break down SPY, and really there's only two main watches here this week. Really nothing too much here as we continue. We attempted this breakdown. We'll break down SPY and then two individual names that look like they do have some potential here. Outside of that, a lot of weakness here off of SPY. So when we look at this, you can see we had a really big resistance here where you can see we got the test here, test here, test here, test here. All of a sudden, we failed this breakout, trapped people to go long out of this, and then boom, we're slamming lower here. So tomorrow, the question becomes, do we just hold a higher low here and come back to highs, or is this the breakdown? We'll take out this, and then we'll come down here, and then even potential down into here. So that is going to be the watch. Either we put in an inside bar here on Monday to work our way back up into obviously this uptrend here, or this is the failed breakout that leads to us breaking down. And how we can utilize this is going into Friday's low here, and if we get below that, we have a lot of room lower here. But on any inside bar then off the open on Monday, you could look for longs holding the opening print and then this prior day low with a level being in here at 599.23. So if we could come down and hold this region here or even hold this prior day low, watching for us to put an inside bar and then rally the rest of this week here, because on the weekly chart, looking weak, but one singular bar does not mean that we're going to follow through with the weakness. We need to see more price action. So like if you're going off of a weak bar, well, this looked weak, we didn't get any follow through. This looked really weak, and then all of a sudden we didn't get any follow through. So the question becomes this week, do we get follow through below 599.23? Puts her on the table with room into 590.31. If we hold this area, then targeting 606.95 here, which would make this a failed breakout, yes, but then we could just trigger an inside bar and then move to the upside here. So that is going to be the main watch here on SPY this week. And again, from this daily chart, it would not surprise me for us to put an inside bar here on Monday, simply because this is such a big move. So like you get a big move here, inside bar, big move here, pretty much an inside bar. So when you get these big moves here, oftentimes the next day is an inside bar of that previous day's range, which if you can get a good risk, a smaller risk entry to work our way back up into this big bar here, oftentimes they present really good setup. So keeping an eye if we can hold this 599.23, stay within this range for a small rally up here on Monday. And then one that I'm really interested in is going to be Aapl. Yes, we're attempting to fail here, but you guys have to take into context what happened on Friday with the market. The market sold off 2.18% on the NASDAQ, and Aapl barely closed red. And when you go into the weekly chart, what is this? This is nothing more than just a 3-bar play and a relative strength name that could easily come up here and tag these 260.10 highs. So that is the main watch, the relative strength here on this, watching this to get a continuation follow through up into 260.10 for then this move to hold. And on the daily chart, it makes sense our initial reaction off of this prior pivot is going to see some selling pressure. So when we come into here on the daily chart back over 247.45, I do think we can test 253.67 this week and may even be able to test this 258.61 area. So keeping that on watch, back over 247.45, 4 longs up into 253.67 and then 258.61. And when we zoom in on a smaller time frame here, you can see we got a big gap up and selling. Now it makes sense why we would break out here, but really all this is just a flag pattern here on the hourly that looks like it wants to move back up into this region up here and then potential up into that 260.10 area. So keeping this on watch looks really, really good here for a relative strength move, especially on Monday if we can get some sort of strength out of the NASDAQ. This one does look like it wants to make that move higher. Now, the other one is Meta. Well, very, very valid that we have flipped the trend here. The question becomes, is this just a weekly failed breakdown that ends in us moving higher here? So we have a very, very strong trend. And the question becomes, is this just a failed breakdown to trap in shorts thinking we're coming back down here? Or do we just put in an inside bar and then trade back up into 740.91 and continue chugging along with this weekly uptrend? And that's more so what I am going to be watching. So when you look at it, it's just a 4-bar pullback on the daily, and it was well overdue for a pullback here in this series of trend. So when we look at this, if we can get a move back over 697.01, targeting this 720 area, and really if we get really strong relative strength here on this week, 739.26. Now the one thing that would invalidate this move is if we just continue to sell off below this bar's low. Not going to be interested in taking this to the downside or trying to long that. For me, over 697 is where the longs will come into play here, and if we can start to flip this trend somehow after a short-term downtrend, which is just this daily chart pullback back over this region here, I do think we could start making a higher low and work our way back up into, first off, this area, but then up here into this 740 area above. So that would be my main watch on Meta here this week. Hope you guys found this video helpful. Let us know down below what you're watching, and as always, stay safe, and I hope you guys have a great week.